faithfully conveying value by interpreting great books from around the world. Hello, this is Sally Talks Books. Today we're diving into the book The Biography of Emperor Taizu of Song. Wow. When talking about Chinese emperors, folks often lump Qin Shi Huang, Han Wudi, Tang Taizong, and Song Taizong together. But compared to the first three, Song Taizu, Zhao Kuangyin's achievements seem kind of less impressive. Besides the Chen Bridge mutiny and dismissing generals over wine, you might not even remember what else Zhao Kuangyin did. The Song Dynasty, founded by Zhao Kuangyin, also always gives off a weak and ineffective vibe. So what historical contributions did Zhao Kuangyin actually make that put him on par with those first three emperors? And should the blame for the Song Dynasty's military failures really fall on this founding emperor? To answer these questions, the biography of Emperor Taizu of Song is definitely the go-to resource. The authors, Wang Yuji and Fan Shui, are both big-name Song Dynasty scholars, and they're actually teacher and student. Wang Yuji wrote about Zhao Kuangyin founding the Song Dynasty and strengthening central power, plus he handled finalizing the whole manuscript. Now, Fan Shui covered Zhao Kuangyin's governance and administration, and he verified all the historical sources in the book. This book was written on and off over 25 years, totaling over 600,000 characters, and it's the most detailed biography of Zhao Kuangyin to date. Next up, I'll split it into two episodes to tell you about Emperor Taizu of Song, Zhao Kuangyin's life, and in this first episode, we'll see how he laid the groundwork for the Song Dynasty's 300-year reign. And it mainly focuses on how Zhao Kuangyin established the Song Dynasty and how he ended the two big headaches of the late Tang and Five Dynasties eras: military mutinies, power grabs, and regional warlord splits through centralization reforms. Now, I'll break down this first episode into three parts for you. Part 1, how did Zhao Kuangyin go from a nobody to a military powerhouse? Part 2, why did the Chen Bridge mutiny put an end to the tradition of military coups and power seizures in the Five Dynasties? Part 3, how did Zhao Kuangyin tackle the mess of regional warlord separatism? First off, let's dive into Part 1, how Zhao Kuangyin transformed from a nobody to a military powerhouse. Zhao Kuangyin's family roots are in Zhuzhou, Hebei, and he was born in 927 in Luoyang, Hainan. He came from a family of a low-ranking officer in the imperial army during the Five Dynasties. That's the emperor's central forces. In a way, you could say Zhao Kuangyin was a military brat. The Five Dynasties means five short-lived dynasties that followed one after another in central China, like later Liang, later Tang, later Jin, later Han, and later Zhou. That era was full of military mutinies. Warfare was nonstop. Dynasties changed hands like nothing, making it one of the most chaotic times in Chinese history. From 927 to 960, he launched the Chen Bridge Mutiny and became emperor. In the first 33 years of Zhao Kuangyin's life, 5 dynasties ruled the Central Plains, with 11 emperors changing, each averaging just 3 years on the throne, shorter than most modern heads of states' single term. Like, half of these emperors came to power through military mutinies, and half died directly or indirectly from warfare. The founding emperors of the Five Dynasties period were all military strongmen. These ambitious warriors often promised soldiers they could plunder the capital after victory, and the unlucky victims were always the common people. For example, in 934, when Zhao Kuangyin was 8, a new emperor who bribed the imperial army to stage a mutiny entered the capital Luoyang, found the treasury empty, and had to let soldiers sack the city to fulfill his promise. Even the Empress Dowager donated her jewelry. If even royalty, that rose through mutinies, suffered this badly, you can imagine how awful it was for ordinary folks. Growing up in the capital with his father, Zhao Kuangyin witnessed many such military conflicts. Since his dad was an imperial army officer, these conflicts didn't hit the Zhao family hard. But Zhao Kuangyin was deeply shaken. Facing such chaotic politics, he couldn't help but wonder, where does my future lie? But during the five dynasties, aristocratic families collapsed, creating power gaps that needed filling by middle and lower classes, giving them chances to rise. Also, against this backdrop in 947, at age 21, Zhao Kuangyin left home to seek opportunities for glory. At that time, the Central Plains was under later Han rule. Zhao Kuangyin traveled through what are now Henan, Hubei, Shanxi, and Shanxi, but faced rejection everywhere, even stealing vegetables from fields to eat. It wasn't until 3 years later that Zhao Kuangyin reached Hebei, joined Guo Wei, a high-ranking minister stationed there, and became a common soldier. Soon after, Guo Wei staged a mutiny, overthrew later Han, and founded later Zhou, with Kaifeng as capital. Zhao Kuangyin helped in the mutiny and was promoted to a junior officer, like a squad leader. Later, he won the favor of Guo Wei's adopted son, Chai Rong, and was directly brought under Chai Rong's command. In 954, Guo Wei died. Chai Rong succeeded him as Emperor Shizong of Zhou, and Zhao Kuangyin became a deputy commander of the emperor's personal guard. Emperor Shizong of Zhou reigned for only 6 short years, but it was during these 6 years that Zhao Kuangyin seized every opportunity, rapidly rising from a nobody to a military powerhouse. The first opportunity came from a major battle. Shortly after Emperor Shizong ascended the throne, northern Han, in modern central Shanxi, allied with the Liao dynasty to invade later Zhou. Emperor Shizong personally led the campaign, with Zhao Kuangyin under Zhang Yongdai's command guarding the emperor. When Zhou forces clashed with the Han-Liao alliance at Gaopeng, northeast of modern Jinqing, Shanxi, the main Zhou troops immediately collapsed. The enemy was about to break through their lines. Emperor Shizong decided to personally lead his imperial guard into battle. As panic spread, 28-year-old Zhao Kuangyin proposed a plan to Zhang Yongdai. Zhang would secure the western high ground for cover, while Zhao led 2,000 elite cavalry charging into enemy ranks for a pincer attack. Before the charge, Zhao passionately declared, "The emperor's in peril. Now's the time for warriors like us to prove our loyalty." Zhao's heroic actions stabilized Zhou's position, enabling a fierce counterattack that routed the Han Liao forces. The Battle of Gaoping became Zhao Kuangyin's life turning point. He forged deep bonds with Zhang Yongdai and gained his superior's full support. With Zhang Yongdai's strong recommendation, Zhao became Emperor Shizong's key protege, beginning his meteoric rise through the ranks. Both through experience. Following Emperor Shizong on campaigns across the realm, he gradually grew into a formidable independent commander. More importantly, Zhao earned the emperor's deep trust and was tasked with reforming the imperial army, the foundation of the future Song Dynasty's imperial power. In late five dynasties, the imperial army had 2 branches, the palace guard and the palace front army. When Emperor Shizong took power, the palace guard was managed by the palace guard command. This force had substantial manpower and served as the main assault troops, but its undisciplined, mixed composition severely weakened its combat effectiveness.
The troops that collapsed at Gaoping were from the palace guard, while the palace front army was the elite unit protecting the emperor's safety.
Well, this newer force was small, with no dedicated administration, but its elite soldiers had exceptional combat prowess. The Gaoping heroes, Zhang Yongdai and Zhao Kuangyin, belonged to the palace front army. Their selection and training initiative was actually a military reorganization. Seizing this opportunity, Emperor Shizong and Zhao Kuangyin not only recruited elite soldiers for the palace front army, but also transferred units from the palace guard to it while promoting its commander's ranks. They even established a dedicated administrative body for the palace front army, the Palace Front Command. Together with the Palace Guard Command, they formed the 2 commands system. All right, so after these adjustments, the Palace Front Army's strength and status soared dramatically. It officially became a force on equal footing with the palace guard. The two commands checked each other, making it easier for Emperor Shizong to maintain control. But Emperor Shizong never imagined that this military training would turn Zhao Kuangyin into the gravedigger of later Zhou. During training, Zhao forged bonds with numerous mid to high-ranking imperial army officers, treating them like brothers. He even formed a sworn brotherhood with 9 generals, known as the 10 Sworn Brothers of the Loyalty Society, creating his own faction. Many new grassroots officers and soldiers were personally trained by Zhao. They obeyed his every command with unwavering loyalty, giving Zhao an unmatched foundation among later Zhou's senior generals. End quote. It's fair to say the Battle of Gaoping was the starting point of Zhao's rise to power. Afterward, he excelled in training and campaigns. His rank and prestige grew steadily as his influence permeated every military level, gaining the power to usurp the throne. In Part 2, I'll explain how Zhao usurped the throne through the Chen Bridge Mutiny, and how this coup ended the 5 dynasties tradition of regime change through military revolts. In 959, Emperor Shizong Chai Rong suddenly died. His 7-year-old son, Emperor Gong, succeeded him. Zhao replaced Zhang Yongde as commander of the Palace Front Command, becoming one of the regents. To ensure stability, Emperor Shizong had created an intricate system of checks and balances among elites. But within just 6 months, Zhao effortlessly dismantled it. And of the 11 most powerful later Zhou civil and military officials, Zhao controlled 9, counting himself that made 10. The sole dissenter, Han Tong, was unpopular due to his temper and couldn't challenge Zhao. In the 5 Dynasties era, where dynastic changes were routine, anyone with sense knew Zhao would stage a mutiny sooner or later. On New Year's Day 960, northern border forts reported a joint invasion by northern Han and Liao. Zhao was ordered to lead troops against them. Actually, this was fake intelligence fabricated by Zhao to use the military deployment for his mutiny. Zhao first sent vanguard forces to Hebei to intimidate local warlord troops loyal to later Xi. Then he left trusted allies Shi Shouxin and Wang Shenqi to guard the capital Kaifeng while he marched troops out. That morning, Zhao Kuangyin's inner circle spread rumors among troops about 2 suns appearing in the sky, one destined to replace the other, laying propaganda groundwork for the mutiny. By evening, Zhao's army reached Chenzhou Post, 40 li northeast of Kaifeng, a location Zhao deliberately chose for the coup. Chenzhou Post had previously garrisoned heavy troops with ready-made facilities, so stationing there wouldn't raise later Zhou court's suspicion. Moreover, its suburban location let Zhao swiftly control the capital after launching the mutiny, preventing complications. That night, confident Zhao drank heartily and retired early. While he snored thunderously, soldiers gathered in groups discussing enthroning Zhao as emperor. Finally, incited by Zhao's loyal officers, a mutiny erupted rapidly. Zhao's brother, Zhao Kuangyin, and chief strategist Zhao Pu coordinated the mutiny's tempo while sending word to Shi Shouxin and Wang Shenqi to prepare for the army's capital entry. At dawn, groggy Zhao was dragged from his tent before dressing, a pre-prepared yellow robe thrown over him as soldiers knelt, shouting, "Long live the Emperor!" Thus, Zhao became emperor through this self-staged mutiny. With Shi Shushan's assistance, Zhao's troops swiftly entered Kaifeng. Han Tong resisted but was quickly killed. Emperor Gong abdicated. Zhao formally ascended the throne, founding the Song Dynasty. As a military strongman, seizing power via mutiny was common in 5 dynasties, but Chen Zhao stood apart through market stability. Fourth, bloodless transition. Zhao's first order restrained troops from looting Kaifeng. Thus, when Zhao entered, troops marched orderly, shops operated normally amid bustling traffic, called market stability. Beyond Han Tong's family, no bloodshed occurred, truly bloodless. Such a mutiny in 5 dynasties was nothing short of miraculous. How did Zhao achieve this miracle? 3 reasons. First, Zhao's immense military authority enabled effective troop control. Second reason, during Emperor Gong's 6-month reign, Zhao meticulously prepared for the mutiny, minimizing resistance to avoid large-scale bloodshed. Most crucial was the third reason. Zhao subjectively wanted to change the law of the chaotic era. Though born to military family, Zhao's ancestors received proper Confucian education and had cultural refinement. Thanks to this tradition, young Zhao attended school studying orthodox Confucian classics like the Book of Documents. Zhao could discuss fluently with scholars, proof of his foundational Confucian literacy. Confucian values of benevolent governance took root in Zhao's mind, setting him apart from typical warriors. Thus, Zhao possessed both the will and capability to launch a mutiny fundamentally different from Five Dynasties traditions. However, though Chen Zhao succeeded, the aftermath demanded heavy lifting. Zhao had witnessed multiple mutinies and himself rose through one. He knew unchecked senior imperial army generals could still sway politics. To ensure Song's longevity and escape short-lived fate, Zhao first had to neutralize threats from founding heroes. These heroes meant 8 senior generals from Chengyao mutiny, powerful, respected, capable of copying Zhao's power grab. The direct solution? Eliminate them. Common in 5 dynasties, but Zhao rejected this for 2 reasons. First, purging heroes would panic military leaders, causing greater chaos. Second, these heroes showed no rebellion signs yet, making slaughter unnecessary. Based on this judgment, Zhao adopted gentler methods to neutralize the imperial army heroes. Shortly after founding, in deliberately relaxed atmosphere, Zhao stripped 4 heroes of military power. By 961, Zhao removed the last 4 through a banquet. This banquet became the famous dismissing generals with wine. That July, Zhao invited 4 founding heroes, Shi Shaoshen, Wang Shenqi, and 2 others, to a banquet. Shi and Wang were Zhao's sworn brothers. The other 2 shared exceptionally close ties. The 5 drank merrily in a harmonious atmosphere. But Zhao Kuangyin suddenly reflected that despite Shi Shoshen's loyalty, someday their own soldiers might drape yellow robes over them.
Hearing this, the men were terrified, thinking Zhao planned to slaughter them.
Zhao abruptly shifted tone, advising them to voluntarily surrender military power and become wealthy regional governors, even promising marriage alliances. The founding heroes could enjoy eternal wealth. Next day, Shi and other heroes collectively submitted resignations. Zhao naturally agreed and fulfilled his promises to them. Historian Bo Yang later praised this as supreme political artistry, a banquet solving the cycle of mutinies and dynastic changes. While brilliant politics, this was temporary personnel change. Permanent solutions required institutional reforms. The core of the system was restraint and checks. First, restraint. After dismissing generals, Zhao abolished 5 of the imperial army's 9 highest positions, including his own former role as palace front commander. Henceforth, imperial army commanders' ranks were suppressed. Their military prestige diminished sharply, curbing senior generals' power and political ambitions. Next came checks. Zhao split the palace guard into cavalry and infantry commands, forming the 3 offices with palace front, creating stronger mutual checks than Zhou's dual system. Simultaneously, Zhao expanded Zhou Shizong's framework, clarifying powers, especially strengthening the Bureau of Military Affairs' oversight of imperial troops. The bureau held no troops but could mobilize armies per imperial decree, while the 3 offices commanded all soldiers, yet couldn't move a single troop without bureau orders. Appointing commanders and deploying armies remained the emperor's personal prerogative. Thus, through the Bureau-3 offices system, Zhao tripartite divided military power, blocking coup paths, finally completing Chen Zhao's aftermath. During the 5 Dynasties period, the constant tradition of military mutinies ended completely. By securing the imperial army, Zhao Kuangyin controlled the central government, eliminating the core threat. However, to effectively rule the entire nation, Zhao still needed to reclaim local powers and eliminate the peripheral threats. Part 3 explains how Zhao resolved regional warlord separatism without escalating conflicts. But at the same time, in late Tang and Five Dynasties, numerous military administrative regions called fanzhen were established, governed by military governors known as jiadushi. They controlled all administrative, military, judicial, financial, and supervisory affairs within their territories, acting as local warlords with extremely high status. During Five Dynasties, central dynasties forced fanzhen into nominal submission through strong imperial armies, but couldn't control local governments under warlords. When warlords' ambitions grew, they might rebel. This was the peripheral calamity of the era. To centralize power, Zhao's strategist Zhao Pu proposed 3 principles: gradually seize administrative power, control finances, and confiscate elite troops from warlords. Implementing these would inevitably infringe on warlords' interests. Enforcing them without escalating tensions truly tested Zhao's statesmanship. First, let's see how Zhao gradually reclaimed administrative power through incremental policies. Take reclaiming power from Tianzhong Army Governor Fu Yangqing. Located in modern southeastern Hebei, it was the region's mightiest fanzhen. Governor Fu Yangqing was no ordinary man. Not only a famed Five Dynasties general, he was father to 2 of Zhou Shizong's empresses and father-in-law to Zhao Kuangyin. Confronting such a heavyweight, his brother's father-in-law, head-on, would backfire. So Zhao needed subtler tactics. Tianxiang administered 1 prefecture and 2 provinces. Its capital, Duming Prefecture, was governed directly by Fu. Below were counties, each headed by a magistrate. Magistrates appointed by Fu formed the foundation of warlord rule. Fu maintained control by manipulating county-level governance. Though crucial, county magistrates held relatively low ranks. This gave Zhao an opening, appointing central officials as county magistrates. Central officials meant senior Song court bureaucrats. Magistrate meant county governor. Starting in 9063, Zhao Kuangyin gradually sent central officials to serve as magistrates in counties under Daming Prefecture. One such official was Zhou Wei, appointed magistrate of Yangji County. Institutionally, Yangji County belonged to Daming Prefecture under Fu Yangqing's Tianzhong Army jurisdiction. As Zhou was technically Fu's subordinate, Fu didn't oppose this appointment, but Zhou retained his high-ranking central official status, making him far superior to ordinary magistrates. This gave him confidence to outmaneuver Fu Yangqing. When Zhou arrived, Fu personally greeted him at the city outskirts, a grand gesture. Yet Zhou didn't dismount, merely cupping his hands in minimal acknowledgement. Governing the county, Zhou answered only to the central court, completely ignoring Fu. When bandits injured locals, Zhou immediately arrested and executed them along with accomplices. He didn't even notify Fu about such major cases. Soon, Tianzhong counties were filled with magistrates like Zhou. Fu could only lament helplessly. As this system expanded, Zhao infiltrated warlord territories. Governors' powers eroded until transfers became feasible. Relocating them from their power bases was extremely sensitive. Under Zhou Shizong, transferring a governor required military preparations against rebellion. By contrast, Zhao acted calmly. In 1969, he transferred Fu from Tianzhong with 1 decree. Though bitterly unwilling, Fu dared not object and departed hastily. Many similar cases occurred across warlord territories. By 977, 2 years after Zhao's death, local administrative powers were fully reclaimed without a single rebellion in 14 years. This demonstrates the immense effectiveness of Zhao's gradual strategy. Beyond gradualism, Zhao employed other methods during centralization, such as tactical retreats or specialized approaches, widely used in more complex financial control processes. As a unified dynasty, a big chunk of the central government's revenue came from local collections, so how to distribute these taxes? This was crucial for central-local relations. Since mid-Tang Dynasty, under powerful warlords' influence, they'd split local taxes three ways: tribute to central government, military funds for governors, and funds retained for prefectural use. Officially, prefectures belonged solely to the court. Retained funds were imperial property, not governors. But actually, warlords controlled prefectures, often governing them personally, making retained funds no different from military funds. Thus, tribute became minimal while governors hoarded endlessly. Taxes included copper coins, grain, silk, but coins were most vital. Both court and warlords used mercenary systems. Soldiers left farming to become hired fighters paid salaries. These pros were essentially like modern salaried workers. Since coins bought daily goods, most soldiers demanded copper payments. More coins meant more troops, so the three-way system clearly benefited warlords. This became warlord separatism's economic foundation. Thus, in 964 to 965, Zhao issued edicts. Except prefectural operating funds, all local copper revenues went to the court. Military funds were abolished. Three-way system became two-way. Seizing warlords' money bags like this, didn't Zhao fear rebellions?
Oh, absolutely.
So Zhao compromised. Though prefectures surrendered all funds beyond operating costs, but who decided those costs? Prefectures set them. They could inflate costs, especially since warlords still controlled most prefectures. The edicts merely put copper revenues under court's nominal ownership. Warlords lost little, so they didn't resist. But this made the imperial treasury still didn't gain much money. Don't worry, though, Zhao had backup plans. This time, he deployed financial tactics. Back in Tang Dynasty, as commerce grew, people relied on copper coins for big trades, but they were heavy and hard to transport. To solve this, flying money services emerged. Merchants in the capital could deposit coins at warlord offices, getting notes to withdraw funds locally. This remittance business, flying money, let warlords hoard coins and profit massively. Tang courts repeatedly banned it, but market demand kept it alive. Zhao, determined to reclaim financial power, wouldn't tolerate warlords profiting this way. But new bans were futile. So he launched his own service. In 97, Zhao opened the Bianqian office in Kaifeng. Merchants deposited coins at the treasury, got notes, and withdrew at local offices. His earlier edicts had nominally placed local funds under state ownership, legalizing this system, and warlord transfers were already underway. Distracted warlords couldn't openly resist. Thus, the treasury steadily absorbed merchants' coins. Meanwhile, locally hoarded coins under operating funds got withdrawn by merchants, indirectly flowing to the treasury. With specialized finance and other policies, controlling finances succeeded perfectly. Losing administrative and financial power, warlords couldn't hold military power long. In 961, Zhao ordered warlords to discharge weak soldiers and upgrade elites. Warlords eagerly complied, hoping to pocket more taxes by hiring extra troops. Little did they know they'd walked into Zhao's trap. In 1965, Zhao formally ordered local armies absorbed, requiring all elite troops be sent to the capital. Thanks to 4 years of prep, the court knew exact troop numbers, preventing underreporting. Thus, all elite forces gathered in Kaifeng, and warlord armies declined. As hundreds of thousands of troops gathered in the capital, military expenses became a problem. To address this, Zhao Kuangyin specifically created a surplus personnel system to accommodate the old, weak, sick, and disabled soldiers. Surplus personnel received only half pay, were not responsible for fighting, and only handled public works like road and river repairs. This not only enhanced the army's combat effectiveness, but also reduced the court's burden and ensured that discharged soldiers wouldn't rebel due to loss of income. This gradual policy ultimately allowed Zhao Kuangyin to peacefully absorb the warlord armies, quietly implement the three principles of reclaiming local power, freeing the Song Dynasty from the central local tensions of the Five Dynasties era. But Zhao didn't throw the baby out with the bathwater. To keep the army vibrant, He still granted border generals many privileges. Border regions could retain local taxes as usual, and even openly engage in border trade to strengthen their finances and enhance military strength. Oh, Zhao Kuangyin also gave full trust to border generals, not restraining or suspecting them. Under such special treatment, 14 famous generals emerged at the borders, including even senior officers who had been stripped of imperial army power at the dynasty's founding. The lesson: I will. Thus, in Zhao Kuangyin's era, reclaiming military power to prevent mutinies and granting power to maintain vitality were not conflicting. But Song's successors blindly emphasized the ancestral law of distrusting and restraining military officers, leading to the dynasty's long-term military weakness and vulnerability. This truly twisted the original intent. Up to this point, it can be seen that through a series of centralizing personnel adjustments and institutional reforms, Zhao Kuangyin finally temporarily secured the throne, each quote, die, ascend, avoiding the Song dynasty quickly becoming the sixth short-lived regime without crippling its own capabilities. However, the realm was not yet unified, and the malpractices of the five dynasties were far from abolished. How did Zhao Kuangyin build the Song dynasty's unparalleled civil governance on the ruins of five dynasties' warfare and profoundly influence the socio-economy of Song, Yuan, Ming, and Qing for nearly a millennium? This question will be answered in the next episode. All right, that concludes the first part of the biography of Emperor Taizu of Song for you. Listening notes are below the audio, and we'll see you next time.